Hello.
We're back.
Ladies and gentlemen, roosters and hens, and everything else in between. Cock Talk is back, and we have a big guest. Did we get another whale tonight? I think we got another whale tonight. We pulled it off. And as always, from the Coop Collective, I am Tyler at MBF Express. We have our trusted producer on time tonight. Thank you, Josh, at Grateful Coops. The man with the theories at Waddle Waddle Racing, Blake. Dad at the bottom there, Pecking Order Racing at Dave, and the man of the hour, the new owner of Chicken Number One, the beautiful 100 Sarama robot, Adam from Poseidon Racing. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we
Welcome.
actually asked you to come on before you bought the chicken.
Yeah, we did. It's kind of funny. Funny how that turned out.
Yeah, and then you just so happened to go ahead and buy it, and we're giving it away tonight.
No.
Just
Just a JPEG.
No.
What I got myself into.
Yeah. No.
We just rugged you. No.
Yeah. No, if you are here, though, we are giving away a chicken tonight that we were trying to give away. Well, started on Twitter. So if you did everything on Twitter, you got yourself in for that giveaway that we'll be giving away later on. But yeah, welcome, Adam. And I guess let's kick this thing off.
Sure. Let's roll.
Sounds
Let it
good.
rock. They're saying in the chat they just see the Poseidon logo right now. They don't see us yet. Josh.
Oh, I haven't done it yet. Sorry.
Yep.
No.
That's all right. We're giving it all to
It's
the
a
Poseidon
big guest
logo
reveal.
Right
There
it
was.
Perfect. There we go.
I forgot to transition. Sorry.
Beautiful faces.
That's what happens when I'm staring at the stream and not the thing I should be looking at.
So yes, we are hot off a pretty amazing week of races. I don't think at this point there was any FUD, any frustrations whatsoever this week. Besides just even when there was little hiccups here and there, we'll get to it in the dev vlog when we talk a little bit. But yeah, what was the number, Dave? 1430 total races.
So
now?
I think we started the week at 5:30, ended at 14:30. So a cool 900 races in a week, which is, more than we did in the 3 months prior of beta.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not even at running anywhere near a 24/7 clip yet. The longest session they had was 8 hours, which was very smooth.
It was a marathon.
Yeah. I was just flooded with races to get into that day. I somehow came out plus that day and I was happy. So that's all you're really going to be happy there. It's just a little plus on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Adam,
come out. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, how many races did you get in this last week? Quite a bit, or were you able to race any?
Somewhere around like 50 or 60. It was way too many. I was happy to do it, and I was taking them down by hand at first before we had some awesome tools put in, chicken.tools. We'll get into that a little bit later. We got the community coming out with content, and it's going to help everybody out, and we'll get into that a bit. But in the meanwhile, we do have our guest of honor here tonight, Adam at Poseidon Racing. And Adam, Chicken Derby. I know you were in pretty early on this game, and it's something that obviously correlates very easily to your portfolio with your history with Zed. But when you first got into it, what kind of expectations did you have? What really gravitated you towards it besides just the obvious?
Yeah, so I mean, me and my brother do this together essentially. So I'll just throw that in at the start. So when I say we, I'm talking about my brother and I. We had a positive experience with Zed, and we liked the similarities with Chicken Derby, but we thought it maybe added. In fact, we thought it was like in the white paper. We thought it was a perfect combination of a lot of popular things out there at that time. So it had the racing aspect of Zed, but then I often said about Zed, it didn't have the rarity aspect. They didn't nail the rarity aspect. So Chicken Derby's got the rarity aspect. It's also got the profile picture aspect to it to a little degree. And then we don't know a lot about breeding, but the breeding aspect looked really interesting to me as well. We'll touch on that maybe in more depth a bit later, but
absolutely,
the breeding looked to be something that they, although didn't give much detail, had put some thought into by the little hints that were left in there. So Yeah, we thought it was great. So we went to minting day, and we started minting, and as I do with some of these mints, I'll keep an eye on how fast they're selling out. So as we minted our first few, I think you could do batches of 5 or something like that. I'm doing batches of
10
5.
right away.
10 was it?
10 per transaction, I think.
Yeah.
There you go. So I'm doing 10s. My brother's on the phone. I'm doing the transactions on the wallet. My brother's on the phone. He's watching the numbers go up and he's going, they're flying out the door. They're flying out the door. And this was the one that they accidentally or whatnot put up about 5 minutes early and was sold out by the actual mint time, the first mint. He's like, they're flying. Just keep buying. Get as many as you can, as many as you can. So
that first move made a bit of a rush because they wanted to give a little bit of incentive to the people that were hanging out in the Discord and been there a little early. And then by the time everyone else showed up when they were supposed to be there, they were gone. with 1 minute to spare, they were gone.
Yeah, I don't think they expected that to happen. And I didn't expect it to happen. I thought it would be popular, but I didn't expect that first few thousand, I think it was 5 or 6 or 8,000 to sell out in 4 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was absurd.
So we had a number we were going for, but we well exceeded that when we saw how fast they were selling because we thought, well, looks like it's already got a decent following. So let's just load up.
FOMO.
Yeah. So we just kept going. So we end up getting a nice little Coop going. And we've been sitting back watching things develop over the last 6 months or so.
How did mint treat you? Did you get some nice stuff in the mint? Did you feel relatively confident after the mint, or is it still something that when you start looking at the all the options and like you said, the rarity and all that, and the rarity in this game just makes my head spin. Like, I don't know where to start half the time.
No, I don't. Look, I feel like everything that comes to me, I have to work for, and I rarely get. Like you'd say that I was lucky in Zed Run, but as far as racing unraced horses in Zed Run, I didn't get much. But I did a lot of wheeling and dealing to buy the right pieces that I thought might be important. Look, I think on average we probably came out about average. We got, as far as the really rare stuff, we didn't get any 100 Shramas. We got one low robot. We didn't get any blacks. So, we got a good mix in the middle there. So we were pretty happy. And then we just added a few key pieces. I mean, you spoke about chicken number 1. That was never on the shopping list, to be honest.
Well, there's that 100 Serama.
I mean, it comes to you,
So that was, I mean, when we first minted, I saw that one there and I contacted the lady that had minted it. And I sort of said, what are you looking at? How much do you want for it? And look, at the time, I probably would have paid 8 or 10, but she wasn't batting an eyelid at that at the time. And then Cuppy came through and history says he bought it for about 22, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And when he started selling, I was sort of like, how can I get a bargain here? What would I like out of that selection of chickens?
How many tags did you tag him before you got him? I saw at least 4.
Heaps. And in the end, he didn't contact me. I ended up going through a third person. So, and I'm thinking, this is a bit third person setting me up with chicken number 1. What's going to go here? Going to relieve me of some ETH, but. We end up doing it through OpenSea, so I was comfortable with that. Nice. I did check a couple of times to make sure it was chicken number 1, though. That's for sure.
There is another chicken 1 that was named chicken 1.
Oh, is there?
It's like 100
Lackenbelder.
Yeah.
Or is it a dork or something?
Wait a second.
Because someone wanted to find out if he could do it, and then once you test it, there's no going back.
That's Kent. He actually feels bad for doing that now, but I still think it's funny. Like I think it's great. So.
Yeah,
it's going to make people turn their heads.
He reached out and said, "Oh, hey, dude, I accidentally named a chicken number 1." I was like, "No stress, mate. It's all good." It's all good.
We know the real chicken one.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So yeah, I mean, I know that's something I'm in the same boat too, with much less chickens, but just been shipping up, just been finding our way through. And I think that's been a fun part of the last 6 months is just continuously finding little deals here and there and watching this market, fly up and then drop down. And of course the drop down wasn't too much fun, but here we are now on the cusp of something huge. We have, as soon as they're confident, as that we'll see in the dev blog, they want to get this thing rolling. And I'm looking forward to that first overnight session when they finally just say, you know what, we feel confident to let this thing ride and see how much we can really feel that 24/7 buzz.
Yeah, it shouldn't be far away, I don't think.
Did you get into the Aussie friendly session the other day?
No, I haven't yet. My time's been pretty limited and spread across multiple different aspects at the moment. So I've been just keeping my eye on the reports about what's been going on and watching the sentiment in the forum. That's pretty important for me as well, like watching how everyone's sort of reacting. And I loved it when Cuppy was selling, because everyone was just so pumped. It was just pumping up the sentiment. Everyone was like checking back. Did I buy it? Did I get an offer accepted? It was awesome.
It's funny because, it was one of those things where, it was brought up before and then you didn't do it. And it would have been a bad time to try to do that when there wasn't, the proper kind of hype. And then when he did it, it felt like someone called it Cuppy Christmas. I should credit who said that first, but everyone was just waiting for their moment to get one. And of course, I own a few that I never thought I would. So it's pretty wild.
Adam likened it to that rare drop that you get yourself into. I remember you saying that in the chat.
The backdrop,
you just got to do a drop of all these great chickens. And honestly, it only lasted about 5 days. And I mean, if that doesn't make you bullish that 500 chickens got gobbled up in 5 days like that, then I mean.
I am shocked that he went through with it all. I thought he would maybe realize how quick they were going and be like, oh, nah, let's maybe hold back on some of these and wait a bit. But
I mean, he's got a little dry sense of humor, and he did come in at one point after like a really successful couple of days of racing and was like, okay, I want to buy all my chickens back now. And everyone just was like, what?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But he sold the rest, so I guess he let
and
go,
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come back
Who
buying
knows?
some of his chickens
Who
back.
knows one day? Who knows one day? But for now, they're ours, and it got spread all around the community to all kinds of. And that's the thing: those with their bags already packed came in strong. Those that felt like they may have missed out on their chance to get big ones, they really came in and got the ones they wanted. Yeah. And it was even the cheap ones. I think it was Frankenstein coops. Just like as soon as Cuppy put down anything with any kind of cosmetic on it, he just bought them and reset the price, just like one after the other. Bought them and added about 20-25% and reset the price on each and every one of them. And now the market is looking pretty. It's active enough, and you could actually sell and consolidate, and it feels like a market again.
It does. I mean, that period will go down. I think it'll go down in chicken folklore for sure. It'll be this great myth that we'll retell over and over again about the time when Cuppy sold cheap chickens.
It'll be BC and AC, where before Cuppy and after Cuppy.
Yeah, so funny.
And then the Cuppy Christmas. So there you go. You got their origin story.
Wow.
Put it together easy.
As told on this show.
Okay, so
what do we want to do? We want to get into this really awesome new tool, or jump into the dev blog?
Yeah, we should definitely shout out the tool for a minute.
Let's do the tool first. Let's throw up this tool. This was created by the Chig, the Chilluminati, and Cam V. They actually have two guys that are both in the Coop Collective Discord as well. And it started out as just a chicken finder, to help you identify your chickens. And then they came in and started just compiling all kinds of data and all kinds of race issues. And funny enough, we had a little bit of an issue with the My Chickens tab on results. Mm-hmm. So people were having a little bit of trouble tracking everything. And they came through with this one. Crypto Poppy gave them a nice little donation, and then another person gave them a donation, and before you know it, they were upgrading the server and creating 3 different tools all in this one here.
And I will say that there's been a few tools that have come out, and this by far is the most in depth as far as like gives you customization of whatever you want to search. So I definitely recommend everybody check it out. It's legit for sure.
Well, it's got what we need now, and that is a results page that you can sort by your coop name, by chicken name, by track distance, everything. It is I mean, he just added the other day. Added an ROI calculator. Cool, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's
which is great when your ROI is not negative and depressing.
Mine's negative.
Mine's
down
negative.
About 0.05. That's pretty.
But
that's
it still has mine still has 2 zeros in front of the first number, so it's just barely negative.
Oh, you're just fine then. If you can get out of the testing period with that, then that's just fine. But yeah, huge shout out to these guys right on the Chicken Tools site, right on the front. They have a donation wallet. These are all just community driven projects. You know, they're just making it and trying to help it out. So any way you guys can help out, want to help out these guys, send them something, send them anything, just to say thanks. And they're receptive, which is really cool. They were asked like, "Oh, can we get an ROI?" And like, 30 hours later, there's an ROI on there. So, they're ready to keep this, up to date the best we can. And when things get really crazy and it's going to be hard to track your races and whatnot, this is going to be invaluable.
And of course, right on top of the very chicken sorting page is the chicken myth himself, Memory Reset. This bird is taking down some races. I'll just say that.
Shout out to
the winnings right here. I see a 0.594. That's just one race.
Both of the
chickens
big
won an
races.
ETH already.
Yeah, but he's pulled down both of the big races.
Both of them.
Yeah, we've had 2 $3,000 races, so basically an ETH depending on where price is sitting, and Hems has won them both with Memory Reset. So
yeah,
I think we have our first racing legend.
Yeah, a 100
cool.
Sultan Whitebeak. Pretty sure it's got purple wine, bloodshot eyes.
Yeah, and he's won at short distance and long distance. The bird might just be a freak.
He was hesitant to do the long because he knew that Memory had been doing well at short, and then was like, you know what, I won the first one. Let's get in there. And I think there was only 1 or 2 left, and he got in. And once again, cool name. I mean, I like it. It's not Big Cock or something like that, or whatever cock derivative that I think we're a little responsible for. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we got cock grandfathered in, and then everyone else took advantage of it. So sorry about that, guys. But Memory Reset, great name and a great looking bird. And that's we're going to be keeping our eyes out on that one. I'm not going to be one to be in that one for too long.
Yeah, and shout out to Poppy for getting second with Chicken 59, and looks like Beast Mode got third with the 97 Sultan sneaking in there. Oh yeah.
Then GameStop, I think, got third in the other one as well. So it's been
who got second in that other one?
I thought I tagged them, but I now I got to go check. But I'll find it. But I know GameStop got third in that one. But yeah, it's been some heavy hitters, obviously getting in there.
Yeah.
Condolences to at Better Blake Racing. I love it. He actually named his Better Blake Racing after our nickname for him. Sorry, Blake. He's taken his shots and they just haven't hit yet. But his time's coming.
Hey, I've raced him in a couple races, so it's felt nice to hit that podium when he's in there.
Oh no. Of course.
Oh,
that's great.
Yeah, so that is chicken.tools. Utilize it, donate to it, use it. It is very, very intuitive and very useful. Help you set up your spreadsheets. You can export to CVS, Excel, all those fun documents.
CSV,
whatever.
It's CVS.
Comma separated
Yes,
values.
CVS.
Not an American pharmacy.
Pick it up at your local drugstore. It's excellent.
All right.
Yeah, so let's roll into the dev blog now and just get down to the gritty, and then after that we'll start picking Adam's brain about some breeding and racing, all kinds of stuff.
Because we all know that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, this week began with a full week of races. On Monday, they launched the automatic race generation, and things were going very well. There have been some errors, but the vast majority of the races have resolved without any problems. Here are some of the stats, and these stats are not counting Friday's session. So I believe the number was over 1,000 races since they've
900.
900. Yeah.
900. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So they'd had open races for 19 hours. Over 900 races ran in that time. Well, plus what did we get? 6 hour session on Friday, didn't we? 8.
Yeah, we went
6.
1, 2, 3, and then 8, and then they went 5 on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's been a lot of races, and they've paid out quite a bit of ETH, about 15 ETH as of Friday morning. So over $40,000 has been distributed out in prize money. Love to see that. They're aware that the site still needs a lot of upgrading and their features that you're asking for. So here's what we currently have planned to be implemented. They're going to bring back the My Chickens Only filter to the results page. More details on the site so you can easily see a chicken's race history. That'll be nice. Chicken naming to be fixed and moved from the old site to chickenderby.com. New races added, because I know I've seen a lot of people in the chat wanting more races or different races, because there's been kind of a repeat of the same tracks,
similar
tracks and distances over and over and over again. But I'm sure they set out with a base number of tracks they wanted to try out with this and just threw it in and let it go. So they'll be scaling that up, looks like, soon. And then adjustments to the race scheduling system. Yeah, the hour wait times are kind of grueling, but
yeah, that might be the only okay. As far as things that did bother people this week, having to wait an hour plus.
But it's only an hour.
I know. Yeah,
get in an hour late.
Well, that's fair too, and I think Adam can probably shed some light there about the wait times in Zed in the early times. There was definitely something similar, right? If not worse.
Yeah. We had at some stages it was up to a week for between a single race. We would have one race and then a week later another one race.
We're so spoiled.
And ours was consistent because once the race filled, it went into that. It was no. I mean, if you only have one bird, I can see how that's kind of frustrating, right? You enter your race
and you gotta wait.
You wait an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I was entering 15 birds, and so every about 15 minutes, I'd have a race go off. It was perfect for me. I don't want 20 races going off at once. And you know what I'm saying? I thought it, depending how you set your race schedule, and if you've got time to race that day, and when this is 24/7, we're going to be able to do that. I thought that setting your race and then knowing, hey, I've got 30 minutes to an hour to come back in and I can watch my race. You're going to get into that habit of just setting your races, go and do whatever you need to do, come back and watch your race.
I want race now.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing to not let it get out of hand. Cause like when I joined Zed was basically around like the New York Times article. And like my first few races, it was join and wait a day.
Yeah.
It's like any like momentum and excitement about it. That was a bit of a downer to have to wait till the next day.
Yeah.
To come
That's
back.
too much.
And I was definitely like, I got one horse in the drop and that was my stable at that point in time. So it's like, well, I can maybe race like 7 times a week. Zed let you get a horse, I think, in 3 races while it was waiting. So it wasn't as rough as, one chicken in one race.
But that's the thing also, like in that time, Adam, when you were waiting a week, you were waiting a week to watch dots move on a screen, wasn't it? Essentially, or was that racing actually?
We had 3D from the moment when I was there, but yeah,
okay.
At that stage we were still dealing with gas, and there was only at that stage there's only about 100 stables, if that, maybe 20 active ones.
Oh man!
So it'd be like one horse from each stable, and then if gas was even gas was cheap back then, but for a race, a $5 race, you might have to pay $3, $5. When it got up to 12 or 15, which is still cheap in today's perspective, it would take 2 or 3 days for that one single race to go off. So you'd be like just like checking on it. No, it's not going. Checking on it.
The days of us all complaining about $20 gas, man. Like I remember those. Yeah. It was like $20 gas. How are we going to survive? This market's going to die. And it's like, nope, it didn't seem to now. But that's fair on a cheap race like that. Yeah, I get that. But it was just, I'm sure at that point, like it was just fun to have. And I just, I was just too, I don't want to say I was too intimidated by it, but it was such a process at the time to get in and figure it out. And I wish I would have, which is why when this came around, it was a no-brainer because I had to find every single way I could into this because that was just too much. I didn't want to miss out on that fun again and the opportunity on top of it all.
Yeah. Well, you build your knowledge up as you go. And then once this game goes public, you'll have, these games are all about the person with the most knowledge wins, basically. Which is the best player. The best player of the game is probably going to have a significant advantage over, someone who comes in and plays a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. And
and especially the way that they want this to be about discovery. Like they've been just adamant about that. They want you to figure it out as you play it. So You know, that's a big thing for them coming from making games on mobile where it's all about how long can you get somebody on the screen? Like how much engagement can you get them on the screen? They're taking that same kind of mentality of how long can we keep you here?
All right. Yeah. Well, I think Chicken Derby is going to keep me hanging on a lot.
A little bit.
Dude,
as soon as they open the races up, man.
For that 8-hour day, it was a marathon. I did the whole 8 hours just to see what it was like. And it was, when I was done, I was like, oh, I felt like I had worked all day.
I was rotating like 6 birds probably every 2 or 3 hours, getting them into about 3 or 4 races. And it was fun. It was nice. Like you said, I was able to get my birds in. And I was like, all right, I got to go do something for 2 hours and come back and watch my race.
Every time I tell myself I was going to stop, I'd hit a podium of the car. We gotta keep going.
That's it.
I'm going to stop. Hit a podium. Oh, I got to keep going.
Blake could never get out of a casino.
No, I can't. I just got to
Chicken Derby
empty out the wallet.
Casino. In your living room.
That's
all
true.
right. Ride us to the rest of this dev blog, Josh. So what else we got to wrap up? Real good.
So look for each of these to be rolled out in the near future. One of the first we'll be adding is the new races, which will be sometime next week. And because Deli loves lists so much, here are some other things that the devs have already done this week. The changes to the race pool to consistently provide sub $5 entry fee races in A, B, C pecking orders was submitted. Yep, I was seeing those $2 and $4 races all day long. It was great. Added the My Chickens Only filter to the scheduled races page. Thank you. Added the beak accessory to the chicken details page. Changes to how long chicken names are displayed. Fixed a bug which prevented chickens with a token ID less than 100 to enter race. Dang, I didn't know that was going on.
Big boy problems.
Yeah.
Well, that's token ID, not name.
Yeah, big boy problems.
Yeah, they were saying
token ID.
some
Yeah,
issues,
you're right. Token ID.
They were saying some issues about being able to find their whole coop and it was only loading so many of them.
Got it. That makes sense.
That would be frustrating. Yes. Fixed a bug which caused chickens not to lose pop in their first race. So they've managed to fix a lot of bugs this week, but one issue that few users have reported is being held on the transaction confirmation window for an extended amount of time.
Yep.
While this isn't the only cause, some users who have reported this have also mentioned that they have had multiple browsers open and were trying to enter multiple races at the same time. We asked that
What's
you do not do
interesting,
this.
I had multiple browsers open, but it was just so I could check races and not do both. And I did have that pop up with me. So that might be just something. I wasn't even trying to do multiple at the same time. I just had 2 up as I wanted to be able to watch a race and check a race and then do other things. So I'll keep an eye on that. It might be worth just shutting that down.
Yeah, so they ask you don't do this. Running multiple transactions through your wallet simultaneously could cause congestion and hold up other users who have their chickens entered into those races. There are plenty of races available now, so no need to rush to enter more than one at a time. Thank you, everyone who have reported the bugs via the bug program. A couple of things we didn't notice came through there, so if you've experienced anything wrong, please log it here, and that is in the announcements page in the Chicken Derby chat. Here is a tease of an animation that we've been long waiting for.
The black hole.
The black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see all those little wind tendrils coming down. I wonder if that means they're going to be grabbing all the chickens that are near it.
Yeah,
no one's going to be safe from
vacuum.
it.
Suck up 11 other chickens.
Except for the robot. They're impervious to talents.
Or the alien. Maybe the alien knows how to navigate through it.
That's his home.
Yeah, tinfoil hat. We'll get to those.
Especially if you own a black alien.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just going to walk through it. Yeah. Not too many people own that, right?
Yeah. Someone here might own my favorite looking chicken.
It is a good looking bird. That's a rooster, isn't it?
Oh, I don't even know to tell you.
Oh,
the
look
truth.
at you trying to mate up your black Sarama. Get out of here.
I got a little black Sarama hen, you know.
trying to make
it's not a Shrama.
Well, I think it's a Sultan, if I remember. I think I looked at that a while back because that is also one of my favorite birds, just all black.
Yeah,
it looks so
gorgeous.
Good.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, I need to try and get that one.
It's gorgeous. It's the only one.
I'm a sucker I'm a sucker for aesthetic, something that looks really, really nice, or a rarity or something like that. I always tend to look through the collection and go, okay, where are the key iconic pieces? I want to go after those.
Well, that'll be a good place to start right after this, right after we just finish up here and just see.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the black hole part of the black hole talent. So they have the rest, but they need some optimizing before they share them with you. As for races going forward, they will continue to do sessions from Monday, and they will be longer ones, at least 4 hours each day. Once we are comfortable with how they are running, we'll turn the races on full time so you can race whenever you want. Yes. Soon.
Doesn't seem far off, man. Does not seem far off.
Soon. Love it.
Weekend racing will be a nice change from the.
Yeah, it's been a little different when if new people pop in on the weekend and they're like, "Is this usually pretty busy?" And it's like, "Yeah, there's no racing," but when there is and everyone's got their time, yeah, things are going to change in a big way. So yeah, what I'm going to do right now is just get the 548 NFT barn giveaway set up in our Discord. I'm going to let that run while we talk with Adam about all of his theories and all of his breakdowns of comparisons to Zed Run and what he feels about the game coming up. That's going to be straightforward on the giveaway bot. I'm going to get that rolling in just a minute. And then we will be doing the spin the wheel for everyone who did the Twitter giveaway and followed the rules properly. We have 34 people on that one. That'll be at the end. And I will get that going now. And before I jump into that, just to get the convo going, Adam, you brought up just you're a sucker for cosmetics and rarity and all that. And one of the biggest things that we've had tons of talks about is just what exactly they're going to mean. Now, we've always felt that, people will, like in silly games like Fortnite, people will pay just to look cooler. It does nothing for you besides look cooler. So they're always going to have that aesthetic feel to them. But what kind of thoughts do you have about just what they could mean for racing? Or is it just a breeding aesthetic thing? Is it just going to be, I want that bird because it looks cool? Or how do your thoughts kind of been compiling just as you've been rolling through on this?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I like them just because they're one-offs, and I want the coolest looking chicken in the game, essentially, and that's why I went chasing after the black one with the black alien eyes, because I just think it looks absolutely sick. And it is a rooster, actually. I just looked it up. It's a rooster. So get your hens ready. Get those hens ready.
Hello. Got me in my 94 Cerama ready for you if you're ready.
Exhausted eyes, though. You gotta be careful.
Oh, don't be fudding on here. Come on now.
Fudding the exhausted eyes.
But as far as what they might look, to be honest, I missed the boat a little bit because I took the white paper too literally that it was going to be very, very similar to Zed. Well, it is very similar to Zed, but I wasn't so sure the heritage was going to mean a great deal other than being a rarity color. Now the stats from the early beta racing results is sort of suggesting fairly strongly that not only perfection birds seem stronger, or the higher perfection is stronger than the lower perfection, but also the Shramas seem to be stronger than the Sultans, than the Laks and the Dorks as well. So I loaded up on hundreds, the Dorking hundreds and the Lakenvelder hundreds, and then started buying a few. I've got a couple of Sultan hundreds, and I've got the one Shrama 100. So I was focusing on that. But now I'm sort of like, oh, well, I should have maybe bought some more baseline Shramas because it definitely looks like that's a thing. But to be honest, when it comes to things like alien eyes and nose rings and these types of things, I would doubt whether the development has gone that far that they mean something right now in the results. I would doubt it, only because the complexity of writing that would be exponential as opposed to just having, the color performance and the perfection performance to then add nose rings and all these different things in. Yeah, sure, maybe later they'll counteract, as you were just talking about with the black hole.
They alluded to that a little bit, right, Dave? Or Blake, if either of you guys know, I know Delhi threw something out
I'm leaning towards what he's right now. I don't think that stripes or alien eyes or beak ring, I don't think that they're doing what they're supposed to do right now, even though they did say white beak is doing what it's supposed to do.
Well,
and
what they have said is all the racing math except for talents, is functioning. So,
okay.
But if it's in the racing math, it's there now. But that doesn't, I'm not saying cosmetics are within the actual base racing math, because Adam's kind of speaking my language about if you bring in too many variables, the math starts to get real crazy real fast. And I don't know if our developers have advanced mathematics degrees to work it out, but maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, from the Zed perspective, we all had all these amazing theories early on that colors do this and different things do that. And, a couple of years later, we look at it and it was even more simplified than we could ever imagined, basically, just to get the game running. It was really, really simple. Well, I'm not saying that doing what they did was really, really simple, but as far as what we thought was going to matter, it really just came down to the breed type and the Z number and a couple other things. But all the other bits and pieces that we thought might be a factor. I was doing silly things like going through and, if I'm parked up next to a certain color, does that influence my race result? If I, all these different things.
Oh, we were doing that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
we were doing that
ask you this though. To that point though, if it is super simple, isn't that kind of the downfall to the longevity of the game in a sense?
Yeah. So where I was sort of going to take that was, yes, it's super simple now, and Chicken Derby might have a similar starting point. But then as they develop, once a year they can add some upgrades and say, okay, all of a sudden you've got, you need to figure out what beak rings and alien eyes do and this and that. And they might give us a hint and say, look, each one of these cosmetic details is going to be able to survive an attack from a certain talent a little bit better than another bird. Or
you've theorized that part of it, which technically could already be put in that we just haven't seen yet because we haven't seen talents. But so we're not sure yet, or it just hasn't been put in because it doesn't need to be put in, and maybe it'll be integrated with talents, and we'll see that from there. But
that's what I think. I think if, as you guys are saying, if it is something to do with like a defense or whatever to a certain talent, maybe we are not seeing that until talents get implemented. That'll go along with it. It may not be part of the racing algorithm. It may have to do with, does your bird get hit by this talent or not?
Well, and there's some
that's why I think robots are just probably impervious to all talents. They're got metal. They just run through walls.
They could be. And maybe we'll see that, when we see a particular talent come up, it may affect in general birds 2 lanes either side. But if a robot happens to be in one of those lanes, maybe it doesn't. We'll be like, Because, I obviously we need a little bit more data. There hasn't been that many races ran with robots and black chickens because there aren't that many. But I haven't seen any kind of dominance from them just in straight racing yet. So, obviously if it's 100, a robot, then it's doing well. But you look at it and we've already substantiated that perfection and heritage are doing well. So it does make me believe it's like, okay, that if we're just trying to work this out and see like, okay, what would robot armor do to gunshots from CK-47? It would block them.
It would block them. You ain't stopping a robot with a machine gun.
Is a machete getting through a robot? No, it's not. So you start to wonder, okay, maybe the ones that do affect others do have some kind of impervious kind of multiplier on there. So it's fun to speculate, and it also makes a little bit of sense. I think there's a little bit of credence there to at least hang your hat on something.
To the comparisons from Zed and Chicken Derby too, I think with Chicken Derby, there's so many more variables, even in OpenSea, that you can search for compared to Zed, right? You just look at the list of traits compared to that. So even if 2 or 3 of those list of traits have something to do with racing, I think there's more variables there than just a heritage and perfection score. That makes sense.
I agree. I think in the long term you might see, and I'm talking 2 or 3 years, they might start adding in these different complexities to the game. But my tactic right now is to focus on what we do know, or what's seemingly coming up, and that's the fact that the perfection seems to be a big thing in raceability. You're starting to see the 100s and the 99s get a higher win rate than, say, the 91s and 90s, or at least in the stats that I saw that was the case.
Right.
And the breed types, Shramas and whatnot, down to the Dorkings, that also seems to have a strength to it as well. So I'd keep my eye. Well, I will be keeping my eye and see how those stats develop. If those patterns are maintained, then I'll start buying, or if I'm going to buy, I'll start buying accordingly, or the market will start shifting as well on the prices.
I think the one thing that'll be absolutely worth monitoring is just they've made the admission that at the moment, pecking order B is a bit loaded. Right. They didn't quite get enough into A, and then the C races kind of sit there because there aren't that many C birds in comparison. So it does make me wonder if the B races are just a little too stacked right now, and you just simply have birds that have no business going up against these Saramas going up against them.
Yeah, I wonder.
So it's possible at least, but I still think in the end, they said it's like the one pure thing they told us outright. Saramas are strong racers. They said that. Yeah. And they said that 100s will almost always beat 99s. Like they gave us those two pieces, and as promised, they make sense. So I think that's worth sticking to. But whether the numbers stay there, we'll see.
I've been thinking about this a little bit. I think so. Right now, the way that they have it scored each race is 1st through 3rd and 10th through 12th. So 1st through 3rd gets the positive PO points. Mm-hmm. Right. 10th through 12th gets the negative PO points. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if the easiest fix to this is to add in a 4th class already and just go ahead and score all birds except for the exact middle. So your top and bottom are going to have more. If you win a race, you're going to have a bigger variance and move.
So if you're top 6 or bottom 6,
but you could, right. And so, but if you had A, B, C, and D,
it's nothing.
Right. If you had A, B, C, D classes, now you've got those bigger variants of moves. I think that would push birds into the D, C, and now that you'd start to see them more spread out. I don't know. We'll see how they come.
I do wonder how quickly just the 3 is going to feel crowded.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it feels crowded in the middle and not enough on the ends, right?
Well, think about like Memory Reset. His PO, I'm pretty sure, is already 80.
80.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Hems brings up a point in the chat. The main issue I've seen is the PO ratings are all over the place, and this is affecting the correct birds being in the right races. And I fully agree. I mean, and that's what I've been trying to say to some people, even in the chat, is, I've gotten into so many races and I haven't won yet. Well, right now the classes are kind of wonky, and if you haven't won yet, you've probably dropped down into C and won that race and shot right back into B. So,
and also, since we do have the numbers getting reset once true open beta begins, people have been quite they just throw out their big birds. They're not worried right now about their big birds racing because it's not going to stick. So this has definitely been a moment where I have a bird that probably should be a B racer, and it does well in B. And once it gets to A, it gets his ass handed to it. And as soon as I get up there, I see him. It's like 99s and 100s, and this is a 94 Sarama. It's like, it probably shouldn't be fighting against these guys. So, that'll work itself out. I really do believe it will. And people will get a little bit more bearish on bracing their mega birds that they put a lot of money into once the stats count. And, things should pan out a little bit more. It should work itself out a little bit, especially if they fix the POP points and get them, the pecking order points and get them feeling a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, and Wally even said in the chat, pretty sure he saw Deli say they don't have enough birds.
Yeah, because there's not as many. Yet. I mean, how many? Because we're in beta right now. I'm thinking of
probably in.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, and kind of when I'm saying this is when we're running, when an open, and again, as we're talking, this could be really soon, right? So, and maybe when more birds get on the tracks, maybe we see more in A and C. So, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we're just over 1,000 races.
For sure.
1,000 races isn't enough to sort.
Quite. It's enough to get your brain turning, but we need some more.
Yeah, the same thing with the same with Zed Run. Early days, the Z1s were racing the Z10s and dominating them. And to be honest, we were thinking, this Z1 is an absolute monster. It's going to be a superstar. But then once it all leveled out and it started racing similar horses to its own class, we're like, that thing's a donkey.
Yeah.
all the superstars from early days.
And breeding, right? Once they started having bred horses and some of those started being better than the Z1s, right? Then you're like,
there's a couple out there. Yeah.
So
it'll all level out.
So you bring up early days of Zed, and we were talking a little bit before the show came on, and a piece that we wanted to touch on again of just where we are, where you feel like we are right now in Chicken Derby, based on how Zed was in their time before they started to jump off. And I'll let you kind of take the reins there a little bit about like how you see comparisons.
Yeah, so I was in Zed Run about 6 months before it really went absolutely mental. And we just sort of, and as I said, there was 200 people in the Discord. There's probably about 20 active stables when we first joined. And I just thought, oh, this is a cool thing. And as I built up my knowledge of what I thought was important in the game, I started buying a few more Z1s. I thought these things looked like they might be the best of the best. So I was doing that. And then long story short, we come back around to I think it was around February, March last year. So roughly 12 months ago. Racing was working really, really well. And the NFTs had just started going out to, I suppose, their first wave of adoption. Mm-hmm. You know, we just come off Top Shots. Yep. So that introduced a lot of people into the space, and then a lot of that Top Shots crowd started filtering over. Plus we were getting another wave of adoption of, you know, I suppose just your average punters coming in. And our Discord blew up. It went from 2,000 users, I think, roughly, to about 20,000 users in about 2 weeks. And it was just an absolute zoo. Like, it was just, people were just buying. The people were getting scammed, ripped off left, right, and center, but they were buying very private message and all. There was, and you know that the project is absolutely blowing up when all the scammers turn up, you know, in the private messages, and you're getting multiple scams. So we had all that going on. But the interesting thing was, so we had the floor price of the Z10s throughout that 6 months before it blew up was anywhere from about $25 up to about $50. And the Zed had its own marketplace stocked with about 200 to 300 of these horses. You could buy any day of the week, whenever you liked, for $25 to $50, right? When it blew up, within 2 weeks, maybe a month, they went from that $25 low. You couldn't get an unraced Z10 for less than probably about, I'm going to say $1,000, maybe even more, $1,000, maybe more. And the interesting thing on that point is I had a look at the chicken floor today. So the low point right now that you can enter this market is roughly about 0.04 Ethereum, which equates to $100 and change, maybe $120. Is this the moment? Are we at the moment right now where we sort of go, oh, remember when you could get a bird for around $100? Look, if you put offers in, you'll get one for $90 for sure. Like if you put a whole bunch of offers in, you'll get 90, 80.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not one for giving advice on anything financial or whatnot, because most of my projects, you know, in NFTs, most of the projects, we said that before, they flop or fail, but it's that one project. And and look, the way the forum's going, the way the Discord's going, the way the racing's going, I'm liking where we're going with this. I really am. One more last thing, if I didn't have full bags, if I didn't have a couple of full bags on this project, I'd be buying up right now for sure.
I think it's a fair thing when you can go through each step and you see the things that make sense, and they start to compound on top of each other, and you start to understand it's like, yeah, anything can happen, and we're not giving financial advice, but we've seen it before. And this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of wave, this is the swell you see a little further out before it crashes, and it crashes in the right way, the wave crashes. But this is the kind of steps that you start to look at and identify. And if you believe, and there's plenty of reasons to believe, it's not blind allegiance at this point. They're putting out a product right now that's fun, and it's not even finished. And the funnest part isn't even there yet. And that part was just going to cause, I mean, at the moment, the podiums themselves, they do well being shared around. They look fun. You always see one or two people going, what the hell is that? You know, when they just see the podium and they see a couple $100 over top of a bird. Well, but when the talents can start getting shot out there in little 10-second clips, people are going to lose their mind.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, we've gone through X amount of races in a week, and we're starting to see birds classed where where they most likely should be classed, and those A races are just intense. I mean, right down to the wire, seeing a bird come from behind. I mean, it's like they're all bunched up and right there. and it's 99s and 98s, sometimes beating out a bunch of 100s. They're good races.
Yeah.
So once the talents hit, man, whew, I cannot wait.
Yeah, that'll be huge once the talents hit. It'll be all over TikTok and socials and Twitter and massive.
And it's crazy that, the Top Shot wave came into the Zed or vice versa. I actually heard about Zed before I even got into Top Shot. And one day, one of our buddies dropped a link in our chat and said, guys, go mint a horse. It's on this day. It was like February of 21.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the mint was just fucked.
And
so then I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting a Zed horse. What's this thing called Top Shot? And then that turned into it.
And that moon just as we got into it. Like, that's okay. We'll be fine.
Like a week or two before. Right.
Thankfully, I got a horse that day, so I skipped Top Shot.
Nice.
Save the pain.
Back in that day, I used to theorize. We'd chat with my brother and I'd be like, I think there's only about 40,000 people, and they just move. We were just all moving around from project to project, and each project, because there was only half a dozen, maybe a dozen projects, your turn was just a matter of time before it sort of swung around to you and the focus came here. And it would blow up over a couple of weeks and then simmer back down, and you'd find yourself a new level of pricing in the entire ecosystem.
Everybody just trading ETH pretty much.
Yeah.
The same 20,000 people just paying each other back and forth.
The same people that dumped Top Shot at the right time.
Not us.
those ones.
Yeah. Until you get a game, right?
Yeah.
Right? All that is until you get a game like this or, Zed. There's a certain feeling of when you own a bird and you win that is hard to replace in other gaming formats. Yeah, it's real tangible money that you can win, right? So when this game is on mobile, for instance, and it has mobile capability and it's easily accessible and able to buy a bird right off your phone, there's no question that this is gonna.
Yeah, and we're still probably a little ways off of being on mobile, and it's amazing.
Once the races don't take 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's the problem. But they've addressed that. That's not something they've even touched.
Not fudding. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
No, but a year, 2 years from now, like when
this game, I was just going to say, this game has exponential growth in front of it before the mobile comes, and then the mobile is who knows. That's kind of the. We all have a good idea of what this game can be and the fun that's going to come. And just from this last race, like I think it was 8 at night our time over on the East Coast in America. And finally the big $330 race filled, and like everyone flooded to go watch it. Yeah. Everyone was like, "Oh, we got to watch it. We got to check out this first race."
It was an event.
It felt like an event. It was like racing at that point had been shut down for hours, and it just got popped into Discord, and everyone and Twitter blew up, and Twitter started going nuts with it. And it's still just a small community passing that around with no marketing arm yet, much of nothing really pushing it around to people. There are tons of people that are in the know in NFTs that really don't even know this project exists yet. The ability to tap into that is going to be pretty wild.
Yeah, and Jay Mooney's Racing in the chat just wanted to say thank you to Poseidon for because it was your videos that took me from Wax Blockchain into ETH Gaming, Zed Run, and ultimately Chicken Derby.
That's a good pivot. Get off.
Not here.
Good pivot. Yeah.
Not here to FUD Wax, but nice move. Good job.
Good stuff.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah, we had a couple people saying that you were the first one that got him into a Zed Run and whatnot, and it's just nice to see you now here and excited, because how can we not be after that last week of racing, right?
I think I might have watched like 12 hours of Adam's videos before I bought a horse.
So,
oh wow,
that soothing voice just while I was supposed to be working.
The reality is that a lot of the big Zed guys that came over and bought chickens gave a lot of people that confidence that this game was going to take off. So, they do earn, guys like Adam deserve a lot of credit for keep having us where we are right now, honestly, because.
Yeah. It's really important. Content creation, like it's really important in the growth of these games. That's why what you guys are doing is so important at this early stage. And I would encourage anyone else who really loves the game and wants to get on YouTube and or Twitch or whatever and start talking about it, then do it. Stream races, talk about it, get the content out there. Look, when it does go to the moon, whether that takes a few more months or whatnot, there'll be plenty of content creators for that couple of months. Most of them will disappear though.
Yep.
And that's fine. I mean, I haven't done any content on my channel for months and months due to being busy with other things, but it's really important in the beginning to sort of spread the word and talk about what are the good bits and the bad bits too, obviously, and spread the word. It's really important, but you know, you guys are doing a great job with that so far. The other thing I just wanted to touch on quickly was when Zed started taking off, the addiction level of winning races was just crazy, as you spoke about before, like an incredible rush. And I started thinking, and this is something to contemplate potentially, I started thinking, wow, this is super addicting. Where, you know, I can make money racing, yes, but this looks rather difficult. But why? What about where are the new players going to find their new horses from or their new chickens from when all these, you know, 33,000 birds are in really strong hands? They're going to come from the new bred birds. And, you know, that addiction is going to fuel those sales of those birds. So that's why I position myself in Zed as more of a breeder than a racer. Okay, so I do a lot of racing, but the core outlook, I suppose, for that particular game for me is breeding. So that's also something to sort of weigh up for new stables coming in.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a racer, breeder?
That was a piece of me that kind of hit hard, and that made like the first couple. I've said this a couple of times on the show, but you know, the first few mints, I was excited, but I didn't drop everything I had. I didn't really just jump in. And then I just started realizing that, like, yeah, we are going to be the supply chain. We're the early owners. We're the ones that are going to be able to give the new chickens to people. It is a very interesting style of investment, to the point where we're going to be able to give the new crop that comes in. And then, of course, if there is a mainstream type flow, then we own the birds. Yeah, that everyone wants the breed off of to create. So that's why it's my biggest bag by far, and I'm comfortable with that. And I'm really at the point where I was even saying to myself, like, yeah, I'm going to go nuts with racing for a little while, and then I got to really, like I did with DFS, like I did with gambling when I did it, put some like definitive regulations on myself to make sure that I'm doing
set limits. It is
doing
important,
but I don't forget why I'm here.
It is important to set limits. I mean, this is a good point and a good time to bring it up, because as we get into this, it is going to be important. I don't want to see people getting their lives ruined and spending stuff more than they can afford. So it is very important to set limits, because it is addicting, right? It is a rush, you know.
Yeah, you used to have to wait for Hawaii to play at 11 o'clock at night to chase, but now you wait for the next game. Even
early in beta, we would get 10 races, and I would feel like, I'm done. Well, 8 hours, and you feel like the wind sucked out of you. So it is important to set limits, take breaks, step away, and things like that. But
become obsessed with the data. I think that could be like part of the game too. That's kind of where like the fantasy football aspect where I came from is just like, I've looked at every time I sell a bird and buy a new one, I almost process it like a fantasy trade. Like, what am I getting for what, and why have I sold to go get this thing? So now it's just like, all right, I used to spend hours of my day trying to figure out who's going to do well on Sundays and not do great. But in this case, I'll actually be able to look at the data and start figuring out some definitive things and then make the moves off that. So feed that addiction through, research and diving into the actual game and figuring it out, instead of just saying, $100 race, fuck it.
Well, that's
100%.
That's the big thing that's gotten mostly I've been trying to build my coop around is just I'll race some. Yeah, I want to get some racers, but like the breeding aspect is just the most appealing thing to me, and just being able to see what I can create. Can I create some champion birds out of the birds that I have, or could I create some pretty damn rare cosmetically looking birds that aren't very much out in the market, right? So that's the big thing that I've looked into, and just I love it. I can't wait to get to that point to just try and be a mad scientist and go, oh, I can put this bird together with this bird and possibly get one of these with a combination of this and that, you know? So it's just that's the most exciting thing to me coming up, and when that is, who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, so I went into the chat and opened up a little bit and just said if anyone has some questions they want to ask that we can throw out there, I'll go ahead and grab them and see if there's anything that we want to kind of, get into and talk about. The one that popped out right away was, depending on how in tune you are with the market right now, but if you had one ETH to spend on one bird, is there anything that like has been jumping at you that you're feeling like, that's something that I'm interested in, that kind of idea? Is it, or are you still at the point where you kind of want to get a little bit more information about just the whole gambit?
No, I mean, looking at that early race data, as I said a couple of times already, it looks to be, that the higher perfection is a stronger racer, and the higher breed type up at the Sharamas there are also stronger racers. So I think to spend that one ETH, if you're just buying one bird and that's all you wanted to do, I would try and get as high up the perfection in the Sharamas as you can.
Yeah.
So
that would be where I would go. Yeah.
Chicken 4. Yeah.
I think that's
There's a couple right now sitting there. Yeah.
Isn't Chicken 4 the 100 perfection Sarama with the rarest talent, I think?
It may well be.
I believe so. Yeah. I believe so.
Be a good friend for Chicken 1.
Yeah.
Just while we're on that, whilst we're on sort of touched on breeding, the reason I was from almost, the beginning after reading the vision paper, really bullish on the hundreds was I just started playing a little bit of Axie Infinity, and I'd just gotten into a bit of Axie breeding, which I don't do anymore, but I noticed how the Axie breeding was really based around this perfection level as well, whereby if you were to breed 299 perfections in Axie, you're much more likely to get a higher perfection Axie out at the end of the day. So I thought, well, it just sets up, like Zed Run is a little bit different, where the Z1s are the best breeders and the numbers get larger as you go down. If I had to have an absolute pot shot, I'm assuming that the numbers as you breed down through the generations are going to get progressively lower. Okay, now there might be a chance that you can breed 299s or 295s or something and still get an uptick in that perfection. But I would suggest that 9 times out of 10 or something like that, you're going to get a down tick, meaning that maybe 100 perfections bred together, the majority of the time produces a 99 or a 98 or something like that.
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, if I can get a couple of birds being those hundreds and produce 98s, then you start to get some business sense around it, because you sort of know what the 98s are going for.
Yeah.
So that's what I based those early decisions on. And I thought, well, the hundreds are probably going to be good races, but I'm almost certain they're going to be good breeders. Okay, so
and in the early days, we correlated a 100 with speed, and we don't know that to be true. Like that's the thing about the 100 perfection. We don't actually know what that perfection means yet. We have a good idea that it might mean consistency, but there's a whole consistency rating that we don't know about either. So,
well, and one thing that I theorized back then was even also if it was a 100 perfection of a certain heritage, then that bird is as pure as it can be. Right. So it's going to spit out purebred birds or great birds.
Very possible.
In the end. Yeah. The lower perfection you get down in the tiers, those birds aren't perfect in a sense, and they're not going to produce good birds. I don't know. That's just that whole perfection score thing to me. It seems like it's not just one thing. It's this and that and a few others, like racing and breeding, and the higher it is, the better it is potentially to be at both, right?
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, again, drawing parallels back to Zed, you've got the Z1s. If you breed 2 Z1s, you've got a much higher likelihood of breeding a good racer as opposed to breeding 2 Z10s. And it may be something similar like that as well.
Yeah, the only pieces that we've found that they've kind of leaked out to us is that they obviously want to incentivize smart breeding, but they don't tell us what smart breeding is, and that breeds could get better the longer throughout the cooldowns that you have. They actually could find yourself with some better birds if done properly. If you just kind of blow through and you're just taking the highest bidder and you don't really care what you're breeding with the bird, then who knows what comes from it. But we're going to have, we're probably going to have like a month's worth of shows just trying to figure out once we get one little nugget to let us know a little bit more about breeding. The breeding part of it is, keep your eyes on it. It's going to be an exciting time to get our birds out there. But, a lot of us that are here right now, we're blessed with that opportunity to be the distributors of these birds moving forward, and to take care of them and make sure that, we're breeding them smart and pricing them right and the whole bit.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's important to think racing is a zero-sum game. For me to make $1, I have to take $1 from somewhere else. But breeding is the aspect of the game where everyone holding the spicy generation, we can all get ahead in that. If the demand is there in the market, then we can all win in breeding. We can't all win in racing. That's not how the mechanic works.
Right.
Well, we're still going to race. And there's going to be plenty of people that just want to race too.
And people are going to take my $1.
Well, I just look at my coop out of, for example, I have 15 birds. I might have 3 or 4 that I look at as racers. Everything else is looked at in the, as breeding. So I think you're going to have a few handful of racers that you'll probably want to throw in occasionally.
Sure.
But
you need to support racing, because if there's no racing, there's no breeding. So
that's right. Yeah.
The flip side of that is while you may think that you only have 3 racers, they could all be great racers.
Oh yeah.
On a specific distance and terrain once you crack their proverbial code, I guess is the way to say it. But yeah, you just never know with the spicies. Now down the road, maybe once we get lower perfection birds and down the tiers into robust and fresh, maybe they are only good at one thing, and that is breeding, or maybe they're just a good racer. And that's the stuff that I can't wait to figure out once we get there.
And as we've been getting into this good stuff about breeding and whatnot, we have a winner of the Coop Collective 548 NFT giveaway. It was at Bronkenbuck. That's a newer name. I like to see that. We're always finding ourselves with some newer people coming in and getting them initiated. So, Bronkenbuck, we will hit you up with a DM. You'll be getting a Coop Collective 548 NFT. And of course, if you don't know already, that comes with our stud barn that we've already put together that will have exclusive breeding rights to and all types of perks for tournaments, whether that's free entries, whether that's reduced entries, and a whole load of other things that we're going to be
poker nights.
Pushing through. Poker nights. We just had our first poker night. Shout out to at JSD because of
fell on his keyboard.
I just call him JSD. And then there's all the different consonants right after it. But yeah, he took home our inaugural win tonight in the final hand against AF Dad. That was a fun one. We're going to be having a lot more of those. We obviously, like Adam said, we're all gamblers. We're all degens here looking for anything to do. So poker is definitely going to be something we're going to keep rolling around here. So okay, congrats again to Bronkenbuck. We'll talk to you in a little bit and get that rolling. Obviously, the Coop Collective 548 NFTs are available. You can buy them at any point. Right now, you just have to hop on to our Discord and jump into the 548 NFT details channel, and everything you need is right there. So, moving forward with a few more points here. There was one other question from a while back. From Bob Jerry, if I could just steal it here. I think they were basically asking, what's the biggest thing you feel like Chicken Derby could take from Zed, whether that's a mistake that they made or what they got right in order to apply that properly and have success. Obviously it doesn't want to be an absolute cookie cutter, just stealing exactly what it is. But if there's either a key, whether it was a positive or a negative, or one of each, if you think there is one, what do you think sticks out to you in that regard?
Interesting. I mean, the one thing I'd like to see Zed do, and I haven't watched enough of the beta races here to know if this is the case here as well, but in Zed, all the horses basically take off for their run for home at around about the halfway mark. So you don't even need to watch the first half of the race, really. And then once they do make their final run for home, the speed is somewhat consistent. Now, I assume this is just the simplest way to sort of generate the winner, in a 3D version. But for example, if your horse gets overtaken with 100 meters to go, there's no neck and neck fight back. It's overtaken, you're done and dusted.
I will answer your question, Adam, about Chicken Derby. There is all different variables of how these races. Now, when it first started in beta, we had that issue. We actually brought that up to where, hey, you could tell if a bird was at a certain point in the race, whether they were going to win or lose.
Yeah. If you got up to the early lead, just start crying because you're not winning. It was how it first started. Guaranteed to lose if you start with the early lead.
And sometimes those early leads were huge.
And then you just die or moonwalk backwards.
There was a lot of glitches. But even now, like when I'm watching my races, I can't tell if my bird even takes off. I've had them die. I've had them die back and then take off and win. So I've had all different variations. We've had now, one thing I hope that they do clean up in the future is photo finishes, because there are so many at the line finishes that you need a freeze frame, where it freezes the clip. But
I keep going back and forth on that because like it's really cool to see it happen live, and then there's that like 2, 3, 4 second anticipation of the podium, and that's where you see who won.
But maybe
but then again, the freeze frame at the
and
line
then the
is pretty
podium
cool too. Yeah. I still think in the end, seeing that freeze frame, especially when they have all the formatting put up properly, I like that idea of seeing that at the end. I think that'll just drive everyone crazy.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, definitely. So on that similar theme, it looks like they've got that already in there, which is brilliant. But I would also, the game timing, the length of the races need to be given a lot of thought, because you don't want them to be like boring to the point of, if you are racing all day, you want it to be quick and fast and done and over with. So I would suggest the minimum time that you need to comfortably have all the actions within the race sort of play out would be somewhere near the race time that we need. Okay, so the minimum time you need for all the talents, et cetera, to sort of play out over a period without any downtime. As I said in Zed, the entire first half of the race, as far as the graphic is concerned, is inconsequential. You don't even need it there. They may as well just cut the race in half and say, well, here's the good stuff. That's all you need. So
was there any reason for that, or is that just the way it kind of panned out?
Again, the way Zed Run has sort of come to market is they sort of rushed it in there to a degree and started building up the audience, building up the racing, and then they're just slowly improving on things. So I imagine down the track, there's a to-do list where this is pretty low on the to-do list, where they have maybe a circular track and they have horses jockeying in and out and sort of crossing over and this and that. But the brilliant thing about this is we're so early that we're sort of playing these really basic games and we're entertained by them and we're loving them. But in 5 years' time, we'll look back and it'll be like playing Atari Pong, like little tiny tennis rackets, in comparison to playing Nintendo Wii or whatever your favorite tennis game is. So,
or look at any generation of video game, like 1999 FIFA was completely different than today,
Yeah, it was just overhead running around, basically 2D,
The variables in the race, though, are great. I mean, like Blake said, there's races where the finish is all the birds are on a dead sprint and their wings are back, as my son likes to call it. They're pecking, Dad. They're pecking. Or I've seen some races and been in some races where all 5 chickens or so that are in the lead just droop down and get tired, and like all of the chickens finish across the line and they're all looking exhausted. Like I lost a race. Like I came back in a race. I was sprinting. I got all the way up to the lead, and like the last 5 meters, he just went and slumped down.
I have a tinfoil hat theory on that.
Uh-oh.
I think that if your bird is flapping its wings, then you're on one of its preferred tracks.
Out of the gate?
If you're,
I've seen them out of the gate.
No.
Interesting.
But because here's what you'll see. Not all birds droop, but a large chunk of the birds droop, right? So if they start running when they're drooping, there's a couple birds you'll notice that never droop at all the whole race. Why is that? Well, something's up.
Could be their
couple
consistency,
birds,
though, too.
Couple birds, too, are only flapping. Now, other races, I see all the birds flapping. Now, I don't know if that's all of them are running on a similar preferred-ish track, but
and that's just to piggyback off that too, with people that are just a little frustrated in the early going of not getting any wins. You just never know right now how many racers are on the right track. And you may already be on the right track, and you just may be going up against 6. So if 6 of the 12 are all on the right track, only 3 can win. So it's important to just kind of, and this was brought up before. I've been doing the data on my birds first, second, and third, but I'm not ignoring 4th and 5th. I'm putting a little extra in there just to see it. But really, I think it was M. Lingy 86 that brought it up, and he was like, it's more about the time. And if that time is close on 4th and you're that far off, then that matters a lot, because there are some race animations where 3 birds just take off. And the whole race is those 3 birds, and 2 seconds later, 4th and 5th come rolling in, and those 4th and 5ths may look like, oh, we were close, but you weren't. You were 2 full seconds off. So that's really like those times there are probably the most important part to really look at and start getting a better idea of is that time a competitive time on that course, and we're going to start figuring out what those times should be for winners. Is obviously it's going to get averaged out pretty quickly once we get some more races.
Well, and that brings up, like, I remember back, if you read the white paper, it says when they're talking about the consistency, it's like some days your chicken will be rearing and ready to go. Now, like I remember I've seen birds jump right out of the gate and they're full on head down sprinting with their wings back. And it's like, okay, well, is that the day that your bird is consistent? Like the consistency factor is up, and that's the day that you should be just hammering the tracks with that guy? Because I've noticed I've tried to race every day this week as I could. There were 2 solid days that I got in my main birds that I've been racing into races. And one day I had a 94 Serrama that was just tearing up a 160 road and track. And then the next day, he just wasn't doing it. It just wasn't happening. It was getting
but I think it also
of the pack, lower end of the pack. But the day before, it was just like top 4 almost every time I got into a race. It was just crazy. So those are the things that I
think competition matters. Right. Also, something to consider, too, is if you enter a race and it's full of a bunch of 90s and 92 dorkings all out of luck, you do good. You're going to have a different variance of whether it's a stacked race. Right. So that's why I say right now the data is we obviously got a lot more data within the week, but there's still not enough data to really pinpoint and say, OK, this is for sure this. Right. Like I looked at a couple 8 blackbirds have run on a track, 7 lizard eyes. There's a lot of things that we just don't have a lot of data on that may be big pieces of the puzzle if we do have bigger chunks of data.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, back to that question, that would be one of the things that I would definitely highlight is the visuals should matter. It's a game of discovery. So every single little tweak that your bird is doing in a race should be tied to something. As you guys said, with the wings flapping could mean that it likes that particular track surface, or it might be just his day in the races. Those kind of things. If you start tracking those, I mean, coming from Zed, we did a lot of early tracking, and then it all ended up being next to pretty much nothing. So because of the visuals.
But I think
I love Zed, but yeah, their visuals don't tend to hint at much at all. Even the way the times work out, they don't tend to hint at all.
It's the variables, though, right? It's the variables in Zed. There's only 2 variables? Your Z trait distance, and your coat, right? I mean, what other traits are there? What other variables are built into a horse?
There's distance preference in there at the moment, and the other variable is consistency.
Is distance preference tied to their coat by chance, or is it just a random distance preference for every horse?
Just random. Nothing's tied to the coat whatsoever.
Well,
that we can tell.
Like you're saying, like if there's no visual aid in aiding you in figuring out the bird itself, right? Or like you're running it, and this is a game of discovery, and if there are no cues to give you that sense of discovery, like, oh, I think I figured this out a little bit. This bird always runs exhausted on this track, or he always slumps down right out of the track and right out of the gate, and maybe that's not his day to go race. Like those are the things. Like unless I think that if it's a game of discovery, it can't just all be data-driven discovery. Like the spreadsheet nerds out there. I mean, I'm one of them, but like it's those things that, like, not everybody's going to go and do that, right? Not everybody's going to have a full-on Excel spreadsheet of every race they've ran with every bird they've got in their coop. I mean, that's...
And nothing is going to be perfect either, right? There's always going to be a little bit of a randomization element to it, I believe. Right. And this is why I think you're seeing some of these lower perfection birds win some races against. I mean, I've seen 92 Dorkings beat 100, in a couple races. Not often, but it happens. Why is that? Is that the randomness element? What variables are at play that allowed that bird to outperform the others?
Well, and Hems brings up another point that I was even thinking about the other day. We were talking about this in the chat. He said, I would have thought most chickens would have been distance and terrain specific, not seeing that by a few chickens I've seen racing. And that brings up, he raced his 100 Sultan on two different, I think, terrains and distances, and it both just tore it up. I mean, and that's where I kind of have come to the thought of maybe with that 100 being 100% perfect, that maybe it has more than one distance and terrain that it can run on, or it's just consistently good at everything, Yeah,
maybe. To draw a parallel back to Zed again, the good Z1s will beat a weak field at any distance, but they'll only beat a strong field at their specified distance. Okay. So if you drop them into a really weak race, I've got a horse called Granger, who is a marathon specialist, right out the long distance. In a weak race, he used to win the 1,000-meter sprints early days, and I thought this horse is just absolutely incredible all over the park. But then he started losing more and more and more at those lower distances as the step up in class came, or the step up in quality fields came. Now he's even getting surpassed now at his favourite distance. There's probably 2 or 3 times as many horses that are better than him at that distance in comparison to, say, 12 months ago. So he's starting to sort of drift off that top tier a little bit now as well. And I think that's probably what you're seeing. You're seeing some high perfections, and we're unable to see where their distance preference is because of the weak class they're racing against, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's really one of the things that I was kind of alluding to earlier as well. Of just we don't really know yet if your birds are running against its proper competition yet, and it will, and they can do well in that regard. Now it's interesting, as Memory Reset went against some heavy hitters both times and still won. And it is interesting when I saw a 92 Dorking flat out beat. I think it was a 90. I think my 97 White Beak Sarama got beat by it, which really made me upset. I promptly texted Josh and said I'm selling this bird.
Whoa!
Yeah. So there's things that need to be delineated and figured out here that are just way beyond just the basis we have. And there's a randomness element that I think they want to have in there. I know that's going to come with talents. Obviously, we'll start to see the major lead changes. I think it's been fun to see lead changes, but they're steady and gradual. Someone can surge at the last 20 meters, but they won't surge from last to first. They'll surge from 6th to first. The talents are going to do those parts, which, obviously, before we get a little too invested in our ideas, those talents are going to change the data in a big way.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some. I mean, you've alluded to this before that maybe the races are uneven because of the birds running on the tracks and the talents aren't implemented, but that the talent would go off in that sense. Like a bird that's 30 meters out in front of every other bird, maybe that bird was supposed to get hit with a blue egg or something, and it got knocked back, and it would make that race even again. So
True. We don't know yet. Yeah.
It's awesome, and it's fun to see that, even like, we were talking about earlier, the variables of the game. Like I've seen a race where my bird ran right out in front to start the race for the first 30 meters. It dropped back into like 6th, 7th, 8th place, and I thought I was done for. And then all of a sudden, the last 30 meters, it just trucks back up into the podium. It's like, all right, well,
yeah. I've rage quit a few races and then go check, and I've got second. I was like, oh, well, I should have stuck that one out. All right. So before we get to a wrap up here, obviously this is a little longer episode than usual. We all kind of expected that. Any final thoughts or words, anything you didn't get to tonight, Adam, that you've kind of been pressing on here, or you feel like we've kind of gotten to a lot of the key things that you were interested in getting into tonight?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my advice to anyone getting into it is, sure, you can have some fun and just put your birds in anywhere, but doing that, you're probably going to lose money. Mm-hmm. So just be invested in, make sure you know all about the stats, study as much as you can. There'll be plenty of tools. The tools are just starting to be developed where you'll be able to cross-reference different traits and whatnot and things like that, and check what matters. Develop some theories on things that matter, and just become a student of the game. And that's the main thing in Zed Run, is a lot of people come in, and it's really the people that have the most knowledge that do really well, because they know when to buy a horse early. And it'll be the same in Chicken Derby as well, is those that can identify specific little tweaks in the animation that might hint that a bird has something special. We'll be able to grab those a little bit earlier than other people. So at the moment, it's all just a bit of fun. But as we start seeing, 200, 300, 400 races a day when we go 24/7, or even 1,000 races a day, is probably not that far down the track. You'll have a lot of data really quickly to really start crunching. And if you're not comfortable with data, that won't matter. Just keep your eye on the Discords, keep your eye on the YouTubes, listen to what other people are saying. And there'll be a few people that like to keep their secrets, but they all come out at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's been a big kind of just like rallying point for the Coop Collective, and everything we want to do here is just that, if you're hanging around and if you're interested, we're in here and we're talking about it. We got channels that are just race theories that we can get into and then just kind of be like, yeah, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing here. I think I threw out that the other day. I was just curious if people were taking 4th and 5th as any type of like small victory, or how they were looking at that. And that's what brought up the times thing and whatnot. Now, times are probably more important. It's very true. So yeah, find a way to just talk to people, get part of the community, and, have fun with this. And yeah, the racing is the end game, but there's so much more to be done beforehand. No doubt. I second that sentiment in a big way.
Absolutely. I'll add one more tiny thing that just jogged my memory when you were talking then, and that is that consider what is a good bird and what you want to add to your coop. Once the data starts coming out, you might find that certain birds like to win at a high percentage, and then certain birds will finish in maybe the top on the podium, a high percentage. Now, you need to understand that if your bird just wins a lot but doesn't finish 2nd and 3rd, there might be a better return on that investment, because the majority of the prize money is in 1st place.
Right.
Sure.
Okay, so just because a bird's finishing 2nd and 3rd a lot, as the competition starts to stiffen up, it might not be the greatest bird to sort of go all in on, for example. Look, it might be. I don't know anything. We don't really know anything yet.
But those 2nd and 3rds could become 4th and 5ths really quickly.
Oh, yeah, right. As soon as we get classed correctly and all that, and that can also play into how that user was running its bird. I mean, if it was like you said, don't just go and start throwing birds in races, and you're going to lose a lot of money that way, and you're probably not going to collect very good data. And especially if you're not specifically targeting like things and progressively trying to figure it out. I mean, you're just throwing money at the wall and looking for it to stick. You're not going to have a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've got a developer bird from the admin team of Chicken Derby that we were pumping on Twitter to get the hype up for this episode a little bit.
Yeah, we put out a really cryptic version of the Poseidon logo that was really hard to figure out and wasn't at all. And said, who's on the show this week? If you answer it right, here you go, just to get a little bit of engagement. So we had 34 people do it correctly, all the different steps, and we have that. I do have it set up. I've sent that over. So this is a good shot at a bird right here, which is nice. So Josh, whenever you're ready, I did already grab the screen, so it should be there in your setup. And we return to the wheel to take a look here. And these developer birds, Fledge got his from 2 weeks ago, and he got a 95 Lake Invelder vampire. So yeah, it's some interesting stuff. I think the best bird that's still been given away was to our favorite mod, Wally. He got a 99 fan group. Dorking one time. So yeah, there's some interesting birds they send out around here. So we always love being able to give away birds from the developers.
Whatever.
How are we looking, Josh?
Out of the way.
Okay, cool.
I'll move us out of the way.
Sounds
so yeah,
good.
It looks like we got everybody on like 34 entries there. Looks like
34 entries. Yep, we got the colorful wheel back. These are all Twitter handles, so I recognize who some of them are in their Discord names. But to make this easy, if you did it right, you followed me. So just go ahead and send me a DM at Chicken Derby. At Caulk Talk Derby on Twitter, and we'll get that synced up, and obviously get your public wallet address from there. And Josh, are we ready to roll?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Without further ado, let's see who gets this developer bird. Just a quick spin.
Who's gonna get the chicken?
Oh, we know who that is. The second place winner.
Man.
From the second
he didn't
place
win
winner.
the poker tournament, so he wins this.
Yeah, he got second. Right?
Giving him
That's
two chickens today.
Two birds today for you. Awesome.
Wow.
Congrats,
Just missed
AF
Whamola.
Dad.
I saw you there, Whamola. It was just in front of yours. All right, AF Dad. That's awesome. Been around forever. We love giving birds to new people. We love giving birds to people that we know have been around for a long time. So that's awesome. You just hit us up. I mean, we know who you are at this point. This is an easy one. So, all right, I'll go ahead and hit stop share here and shoot it back to you, Josh.
Okay.
All right.
Whoops.
And we're back. And yeah, one more time, if we haven't said it already, Adam, thanks for coming on. This was cool. I really enjoyed the ability to just kind of pick your brain, get into this, damn it, Pete. There you go. We had to throw that one in there as an inside joke.
It's my you can't see what I'm doing right now.
That's our little
I'll just throw this
there.
guy up there to end
Their
it
buddy
there.
Pete. Yeah, I was excited to hear different things about how the correlations between where you feel we're sitting right now with this Chicken Derby market and Zed market and whatnot. It's really cool that you're along for the ride here, and obviously have Chicken One. It's in good hands. I like to see that, along with so many of the other birds that Cuppy sold to everybody for Cuppy Christmas. They're in some excellent hands, and yeah, I'm just excited for another week of racing.
Yeah, 100%. Get into it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Adam, thank you, man, for stopping by. Poseidon Racing was generous enough to give us an hour and a half of his time, and we'd like to thank all of you for stopping by tonight live, and congrats to AF Dad for winning the chicken. And
Adam, are you going to be making some videos still about Chicken Derby and whatnot? Is that still something that's on the docket coming up?
Yeah, there will be a couple of videos on Chicken Derby and a few more on Zed, but it's not really something that I want to spend a lot. I don't want to be a YouTube channel, type scenario. It's not something I want to spend the majority of my time doing, but there will be, maybe one a month or something like that.
nice.
Sounds good. We'll keep an eye out for it.
You can always stop by our show here whenever you like, man. Just let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk
for sure.
some chickens and
Yeah, maybe we'll shoot you an invite to the Coop Collective Discord so you can have your 1,000th Discord you can join. I know, I know everyone has a lot of Discords, but I know everyone in our Discord just loves talking about this stuff and getting into the deep of it. So we'll shoot that over. No pressure. If you want to come on by and talk sometimes, that'd be great. But we really appreciate your time. This was cool.
Yep.
And I know we're all a bunch of nerds here for chickens. So
absolutely. Just waiting for the rocket ship to go off, baby.
Yep.
Soon.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Nope. What was that always, Tyler?
Gradually, then
and
suddenly.
then suddenly.
Yeah. Gradually,
Yeah.
then that suddenly is getting real close.
Yes, soon. Yeah, so from the Chicken Coop chat and the Coop Collective Discord, I am at Grateful Coops. We have
Like and subscribe.
Oh, I was getting there, man.
He's gonna stick the landing.
We always got to throw them off. Don't forget, Josh. You gotta go, bud.
Big thanks again to at Poseidon Racing who stopped by today. Always a pleasure to talk and glad to have you on today. We have at MBF Express up to my left, I guess. Water Racing in pecking order down on the bottom. We are the Coop Collective. We will see you guys next time. Have a good night.
See ya.